So I was browsing through the coming soon tab of the eShop earlier in hopes of finding something decent, since the eShop is constantly flooded with nothing but garbage and mobile quality games at premium prices and never go down, when I came across something that made me weep on the inside. When I saw it coming only in just a few days, it made me even further disappointed with the things that Nintendo allows on their platform. What I'm talking about is Modern Combat. You know that game series by Gameloft that's for Android and iOS? You know the thing that's so low quality that it's only on mobile? Well, guess what? Since the thing that the eShop and the Google Play Store slash Apple Store have in common is low quality games, guess what's coming to the Switch? Modern Combat Blackout. A mobile game for $20 fucking dollars. Even more so, one that I could never actually even get to run properly on any mobile devices I ever put it on. And I've tried quite a few of them, and they weren't crap ones either. But wait, that's not the best part. The very first sentence for the game's description: jump into the crossfire as the latest modern combat, and here's where it gets good, raises the bar for FPS action on Nintendo Switch. I'm sorry, but if that's the bar for first-person shooters on a Switch, then when it comes to having libraries even close to the Xbox One or PS4, the Switch is just fucked. Seriously, look at these screenshots. Look at this one. It looks blurrier than a fucking PS2 game, and you're telling me that that is supposed to raise the bar? If I were a brain dead fool who didn't know basically anything, I think that the bar hasn't even been put up yet. I mean, we're nearly 2 years into the Switch's lifespan, and what FPS games do we have that you can think of off the top of your head? I can only think of Doom, Wolfenstein 2, and Payday 2, one of which was overpriced upon release and is more of a cash grab that the makers dump onto literally every console before immediately abandoning. Fucking update your game, overkill. That's 3 games in 2 years. Yes, I know there are some other indie ones, but I don't count ones that look like they are fucking Minecraft knockoffs
Hasta la vista, baby.
or some half-assed games that have such low standards that they wouldn't be accepted on anything else but a Nintendo platform. I know we aren't going to get anything like Call of Duty on a Nintendo platform ever again, and whatever. Who needs a shitty yearly release from one of the laziest and worst publishers in history? But seriously, if a mobile game is what's supposed to set the bar for FPS games, one of my two favorite genres of games, the other being racing games, which is not quite as bad but is still pretty terribly represented on the Switch, then Nintendo has some serious issues. I could understand if this were earlier days of the Switch because it was pretty lackluster then, and the Wii U and 3DS had such low standards for what could pass as a game on them, but seriously, Nintendo, I expected you to learn by now. For a while, I saw how Xbox One got far fewer games than the PS4, especially from the Japanese market, but I was at least thankful that they had stricter quality control standards. I've seen some pretty shitty games on the PS4, and if you've ever watched Jim Sterling, you'll know what I mean.
And then it throws you into the worst game on the PlayStation 4. Literally, and without hyperbole, the worst game on the PlayStation 4.
Hell, the fact that I personally encountered said games without even needing to be pointed to them says something. But Nintendo, when it comes to first-party games, you've always held the highest of quality standards for your games, which is why they've all gone on to be such big hits that you can get away with never discounting. But when it comes to third-party games, you know what? I can't even call these third-party games, nor can I even call them indie games, because indie games are supposed to be from smaller developers that at least try. So you know what? When it comes to garbage, you just open your doors right up for all those garbage trucks to come right in and dump their loads all over the eShop. And you know what? It's stuff like this that's why back when I pawned my Switch that I was so comfortable in doing it. Yes, there's some pretty good games on the Switch, but it's easy to get burned out on the system pretty damn fast. You need to not only expand the variety and push for higher quality games that you'd see on rival systems, especially from genres like FPS and racing that need proper representation. I mean, just look at what we've got for realistic racing games. A rip-off mobile port at a AAA game price. Not only that, but a sequel to that game that still doesn't impress whatsoever. But anyway, You need to not only push for higher quality there, but stop letting all the garbage in. You have so much to learn from your competitors, Nintendo. Not only proper online services, but quality control. You have a lot of developers that came over from Steam because Valve just literally let anything onto the store and it flooded over so much that you couldn't get anything good. And now you're letting the eShop look like the newborn child of Steam. Look, Nintendo, I know you've always aimed for a larger audience than both Sony and Microsoft while they've been more selective, but maybe it's time to crack down on all the garbage being released, have some quality control, and maybe encourage focus on other areas that you've barely given any attention to. You did the same thing with the Wii U, and besides the failure of the system, that's why other than two vanilla Call of Duty games, there weren't really any FPS games on that either. It was already bad enough when you started letting 3DS games be re-released on the Switch as well, and they're not even good ones, they're garbageware from the 3DS, so it's like garbageware within garbageware. But I know a while back you announced that you wanted to have 20 to 30 indie games released on the eShop every week, but what you're allowing to be released aren't indie games. Hell, I look at a lot of these games and I click on the publisher section, and these publishers don't even have multiple games on the eShop. Like, they just pulled down their pants, dumped the game out of their ass, and ran for the hills with the money from anyone stupid enough to buy them. Unless we're looking at someone like Forever Entertainment, who I've at this point basically blacklisted myself from even taking a look at any of their games because they all look like something they just crapped out, and they're almost always on sale for like 50 cents. That shows the quality right there of the game. At this point, all I can say is that when it comes to competing against Xbox and PlayStation, Nintendo still has quite a lot to work on with not only their online services, because since my last video ranting on the online service, nothing has changed, but their system as well. Until then, I think that I'm going to have to keep leaning more on Xbox and somewhat on PlayStation when it comes to having the whole experience, since when it comes to FPS and racing games, it's what Microsoft does best, and when it comes to exclusives, PlayStation has the largest selection. I hope to someday see an improvement in the Switch services and a larger representative library of genres, other than a ton of mobile games and a bunch of generic platformers that just have you walking from the left of the screen to the right like they just came straight out of the 80s. This is Warstar C on the Game Clips channel, and I'm out.